How do you see Trump's America from Europe? Do you still see it as an ally or an adversary?
Well, certainly not an adversary, and certainly as an ally, that's for sure. You know, America for the Baltics is the essential ally and the essential counterpart. Now we have been in the EU and NATO for 20 years. We are 107 years old countries, but in the same time, 50 years we were occupied by the Soviet Union.
Yes.
And it was a US-led stance that never recognized that occupation as legal, which allowed us to continue operating through the embassies in the US, in London, and in other places. So our statehood continued throughout the occupation period. So when we regained independence in 1990, it was very much also the partnership with the US that enabled the rebuilding of institutions, the legislation, and security. So we had Russian troops on our territory, so withdrawal of Russian troops. That was my first portfolio in the foreign ministry when I joined as a young lawyer. Right. State immunity issues, that's what I had to deal with. And it was the US, it was at that time Clinton administration that pushed those issues and achieved the withdrawal of Russia's troops. So that was, you know, something that forms also the way we perceive America throughout the years. Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration. But our interest is bipartisan. It's very in-depth. We have a very
Does it
thorough...
behave like an ally, the current administration?
Yes. The U.S. administration has not questioned strong NATO or U.S. involvement in it. It's, you know, there is no question about it for us. And I've been to Washington 3 times in the last 2 months. And next week I'm going again, seeing Marco Rubio and others. And yes, there are different views and there are differences between various countries. There are differences how the administrations or leaders express themselves. There are differences in various stances. But in the same time, we have to keep a clear mind, long sort of view at the developments. And the Baltic interest, again, we have large communities in the US. We have US troops in the Baltics. We buy US LNG. We spent close to 4% on defense and we'll move to 5%. So there's something that I think other Europeans can look at us and say, okay, maybe we can do more too.
Absolutely. I'll come to that point of defense spending, but let me get in Marco Perestrello here. NATO's cohesion is being put to the test by its biggest funder, and that is the United States. And it's good to know that Ms. Braze's experience has been better with Washington compared to some other versions and exchanges that we've heard about. How should Europe deal with this new America?
Europe, for the last decades, had become more dependent on different areas from different regions. When the pandemic arrived in 2019, we suddenly discovered that we were highly dependent on China, on certain health materials. When the war blasted in Ukraine in 2022, part of Europe acknowledged that it was highly dependent on Russia, on gas supply. And now European public opinion is discovering what many politicians already knew, that we are highly dependent on strategic matters on the US. And what happened with the pandemic in 2019, with the Russia aggression against Ukraine in 2022, forced us to become more autonomous and to have more self-capacities to answer the crises that were raised on those occasions. Now we can also face a situation in which we need to be acknowledged that we need to do more to become also more autonomous on strategic matters regarding the US. So I wouldn't say that the cohesion of the alliance is at stake, but I would say that to keep the cohesion of the alliance, we can take it as an opportunity to make a stronger alliance, spending up or stepping up the European capacities so that we can take care of ourselves, and on that sense have a more equal relation with the most important ally of the alliance. And for that, we need also to find new partnerships, new bridges of dialogue, and also that is an opportunity to strengthen the relations, for instance, between Europe and India, and between Europe and the Mercosur in South America. Create new bridges, strengthen the relations we have with other regions of the planet, spending more on things that we need to spend more, and take that challenge that we are facing with the new U.S. administration approach as an opportunity to become stronger and more, and with an alliance more coherent
yes.
and stronger.
That's a very interesting thought. That's like saying that Donald Trump in the White House is a pandemic-like moment for Europe. You've not used the words decoupling and de-risking, but you've essentially described the same thing.
That's your words. I just made a comparison with situations that created occasions for Europe to become stronger after certain situations that showed our vulnerabilities. That's the point.